Welcome to the Glow Show. I'm Eric McClanahan. Joining me is AJ Simmons. We also have a special guest joining us. AJ, would you like to introduce our special guest?
Yes, I would. We have the one, the only Ronnie Holiday, otherwise known as Ronnie Martin from Joy Electric, books, podcasts, articles, all sorts of fun things joining us tonight. How you doing tonight, Ronnie?
I'm doing great. The way you describe me just makes me tired. It makes me
You are a very busy man. So thank you for jumping on with us, man. So want to explain kind of to you and to listeners and stuff about what the concept of this episode is. We're huge fans of Mama Martin's Boys, basically, on this show.
wow.
Both you and your brother Jason. So Joy Electric, your solo stuff, Jason's stuff with Starflyer and Neon Horse. And
Mhm.
so we thought it'd be fun to do kind of a shorter episode about your new music and his new music out the past few weeks. And so you've been kind enough to join us for a bit, so that's really awesome. And then wanted to turn it over to Eric because not only do we love your music, your podcasting has actually influenced this show. Eric, you want to talk a bit about that before we start firing questions at the poor Ronnie? He has no idea what he's saying.
Yeah, the Happy Rant was like the first podcast that I loved and had to listen to like every week. And I went and saw your all's first like live show thing in Louisville.
Uh,
So you guys, a lot of what I've learned, only the good things, of course, I kind of learned from you guys. So thank you for influencing me in that way, as well as all the great music you've put out over the
well,
years.
I appreciate that. That's really kind. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
those words.
All right, let's start asking some questions if you don't mind.
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. So the release of On Christmas Morning is finally here. How does it feel to share it with the world? Like you're constantly sharing articles, books, music. How does it feel to share something new with the world?
Well, it feels great. I just it's really the reason why I create things. I love people to, I love to communicate and mainly, yeah, music and words. And so there is just a huge rush. It's never diminished for me all these years. Just releasing something new, especially music, probably music more than like a book, probably, but just for something for people to listen to. It's a huge thrill, and man, I love it. It makes me excited every time. And so just to be able to drop a single like the way we were able to do it, and I have all this flexibility with the label I'm with now to just kind of do all the music I want, release it, kind of when we decide to release it. So it's a lot of freedom in my old age here, and it's really cool. I feel really blessed to be able to do it. So
Awesome.
Awesome.
So your last few releases have been Christmas releases, Holiday Fable and Bells Merrily. And everybody who follows you online knows that you're a big Christmas guy. What is it about Christmas that's so special or meaningful to you?
well, I know gosh, at the risk of, being maniacal about it, right? There's a lot of Christmas guys online these days, right? But I don't know. There's a lot of nostalgia for it. For when it comes to, I think it evokes a lot of childhood memories. And my parents just made a big deal out of Christmas, and I think it's because my mom came from a childhood where her mom made a big deal out of Christmas. My dad came from like a post-depression childhood where they did not make a big deal out of it. So when they got together, they had sort of said, "Hey, when we have our kids, we're going to do it up at Christmas time." And it sort of morphed into this thing where they just created really great memories for us. They weren't perfect, but they created these really memorable times for us around the holidays. And I think it just got really ingrained in me that when this season begins, like right around this time, I don't know, it just evokes all of these just really, really great memories. And I just get caught up in it. And the music is just such a huge part of it for me, for sure.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So if I remember correctly, you wrote something online, I think in the summer, about working on Christmas music. At least it wasn't during Christmas season. It might have been like late spring, early summer. How did you go about getting yourself in like the headspace for Christmas time when it was 90 degrees out? Or is Ronnie Holiday just always full of Christmas spirit?
No, that that's a great question. I'm one of those guys where I keep Christmas at the time of the year it's supposed to be. So I am not like a Christmas in July guy at all. But to do this stuff and to get it out at the right time, you got to usually record it at a time when it's not Christmas. And so I'd already had all these Christmas songs written about a year ago, and there was a window with all of our moving and all these
Mhm.
changes. I had a window in the summer where I had a lot of downtime, and I thought this is a great time if I can just knock this out. We'll release a single in December, and then the full length will come out next year, like next October in 25. And so it was just like just get in there and do it. I had the songs. And gosh, it's the hardest thing in the world to record Christmas songs in June, in May and June, right? Because it's just you couldn't be further away, you couldn't be more off season. I don't know, it's funny. I when I get in the studio, I get into a little bit of a headspace, and the songs are just since they're originals, they're just pop songs, and they're right in line with all the pop songs I do anyway, in some ways, probably a little less dark in some ways. And so, I get really just caught up in the lyrics. The lyrics is what really helps me kind of get into the spirit of the season. And I don't know, I can transform in the moment when I need to. I guess because I do love Christmas so much, but it's not ideal. And the conundrum is this is I don't like to be over busy during the holidays. So the worst thing in the world for me would be recording something like that right now. It would just ruin the holidays for me, ironically enough. I like to drink in the holidays. I like Nat and Bing and Frank to be delivering me the holidays during the holidays, right? I don't want to be working on holiday stuff during the holidays, if that makes sense.
Speaking of Nat and Bing, a lot of people do a lot of Christmas covers when they do Christmas music. Why do you seem to prefer original stuff? And is there any chance of like a covers Christmas album?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a great question. What's funny is that whenever I buy a record from an artist and it's all originals, I never buy it. I only want the classics. So I'm a contradiction here a little bit. The thing is this is I love songwriting so much, and it's the only thing in my life that has ever come easy and natural to me. And so songs just kind of come out of me, they pour out of me. And it's the most fun thing for me to do to record original songs. And so I get into this mode of these sort of Christmas jingly choruses that I start writing on the piano. Before you know it, I got 10 of them or 8 of them. And it's just so much more fun for me to just say, hey, what would it, back in the day, these guys, these were all original Christmas songs, right? When these guys were releasing these records. So I'm always envisioning myself being like a Nat or a Frank, which is ridiculous, I know. But saying, hey, look, I'm, just imagining if these came on the radio and these became like the instant classics. Of course, that's not going to happen, but maybe within a small, kind of cold, sort of circle that we have here. But at the same time, to your point, I think the next record will be an album full of classics, is what I'm planning.
Oh,
So I
interesting.
am going to do it. That was always part of the plan. I just always start writing songs, and I'm like, oh, I got to record these now. I can't just leave them on the shelf. And
Right.
but I'm preventing myself from doing that if I can. And I want to do an album full of just like, 10 classics is what I would love to do.
Very cool.
Awesome. So a big part of Christmas season is Christmas movies. Which Christmas movie best captures the vibe of on Christmas morning?
Oh man, that's a really good question. Um, Gosh, I think I always go back to It's a Wonderful Life, which ironically enough is not the most Christmassy movie.
Right.
You don't really get to Christmas until the last 10 minutes or something. But it is happening Christmas morning at like after midnight. Yeah, I on Christmas morning is it's meant to just kind of capture sort of the exuberance
Hmm.
of when you're a child, and all you want to do is get to Christmas, if that's the time you celebrate, which it was for us. What's so funny is that the Christmas season now, as I'm older, it goes so fast
Hmm.
because it's because I'm trying every day to slow it down. And I think as a kid, it took so long to get to Christmas morning because you just were waiting. That was the only thing you wanted to happen. And this song tries to capture that. which is just to say like the longest night of the year is Christmas Eve because I'm just waiting to get to Christmas morning because it's going to be magic and I'm waiting for that moment. So that was really what it was trying to capture. So yeah, what movie? Gosh, probably It's a Wonderful Life, I would imagine. If It's a Wonderful Life, had Robert Moog, doing the soundtrack or something.
One thing I was curious about is why you've gone away from using the Joy Electric name. Is that just something you've retired, or is there something that helps you decide if you're going to release it under Joy Electric or under your own name or another project?
Yeah, well, I think what happened was I took a pretty long hiatus after the last Joy Electric album, and then that's when I started getting more into publishing industry
Mhm.
and books and articles and those types of things. And so, there's this whole new audience that, some of which had followed Joy Electric, but many of which did not. And I thought, let me just keep some semblance of uniformity here with my name, on book covers and art, all those types of things. So in that sense, it just felt like the right time to kind of just keep everything my name. And as you guys have heard, essentially the music's very similar. The music hasn't changed. So it just felt like it was time to embrace the name and maybe let Joy Electric. It felt like a new chapter too, in that sense, letting that name go. And but other than that, it was more pragmatic, I guess, in that sense than anything.
Interesting. Thanks.
Hey,
What's
Eric, I'm
what's?
going to chime in real quick.
Oh, go
I have
ahead. Go
another
ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
So this came in the mail today from your label. I've got the cassette tape
Yes.
for the single. I have two questions related to it. First, this is the first cassette tape I've bought in like 25 years. So where did you get the thought? Because not only do I have this cassette tape, I also got the Holiday Fables package.
Oh man. Okay.
So why release cassette tapes is question number one. And question number two is the back of the single says Rabbit Pulled Out of Hat by J Cloud. What rabbit did Jeff pull out of a hat for this single?
Well, okay, so the cassette thing has kind of come back into popularity a little
Hmm.
bit. So, you can buy brand new cassette players, you can even buy
Hmm.
decent cassette players now. So it's like everything else, everything goes in cycles, and cassettes are back, and they actually, whenever our label makes them, they sell like gangbusters,
Hmm.
and people love to buy them. Maybe more as memorabilia than even they
Yeah,
like to play them.
yeah, that
And
makes
so,
sense.
so that's why we do it. As a kid from the 80s, I just have a huge connection to cassette tapes because that's what I listened to. I was kind of post vinyl, pre CD in my listening era. And so cassettes were everything. I bought everything on cassette. So I really love cassettes. I love that there's tape, they're analog. And I always wanted to do a single, which was the cardboard, exactly what you were just
Hmm.
holding in your
Mhm.
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I know. So of all the stuff I did, all the releases I did, for some reason I never got to do a single. So I approached Cloud in the summer and I said, "Hey, what would you think about doing a single?" And then not only that, but just like a cassette single, the cardboard sleeve. And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it. I got to find somebody who still manufacture, So that's his job, right? He researches all that
Hmm.
stuff. He found somebody who still did it. And so yeah, we got to do it. What was I forget the second question.
Well, I think you may have just answered it. It
Oh,
says on the
okay.
back that like J Cloud pulled a rabbit out of a hat. Was
Oh
finding
yeah,
somebody to
yeah.
make the single pulling the rabbit out of the hat?
That is so Jeff requires that on the back of every one of his releases. I think it's a fancier way of saying executive producer. Because he's the guy that does all of that work
Well,
and
now
makes
I want to check the back of my Holiday Fable vinyl if that's on there, or if that's somewhere in the
well,
liner notes.
it would
Probably in
be
the liner notes.
wherever the
Yeah,
credits and lyrics are. Yeah, yeah.
um,
gotcha.
yeah. Speaking of singles, I would get like a $5 allowance, like when I was a preteen, and we'd go to Walmart, and I would get two or three singles off the cassette rack, and that was kind of how I spent my allowance every week. So that
Oh man, I love that.
singles they're actually probably more nostalgic to me than actual like full length cassette tape. So that's really cool.
Oh, I love
Uh,
that. It's awesome.
yeah. So what's next for you as far as music projects go? Is the Christmas release for next year? Is there anything coming before that?
Yeah, so March 1st, you'll have the second solo album, the proper solo album release coming out on March 1st. So that was just mixed and mastered. It's completely done. Artwork is pretty much completely done. So we are just waiting now for March 1st, and so everybody will have that. Yeah.
Very
So
exciting.
you're gonna drop that and a Christmas album next year?
Yeah,
So
I'll
like,
be
is it like an every other year thing that you do that? Or was that no? That was 2022 that you dropped your first Ronnie Martin album and then a Christmas album, right?
yeah, that was.
So
Yeah,
like
so
every 3 years, do we can I put that in the calendar now? 2028 as well?
well, I like putting stuff out.
Yeah.
So as long as I'm able to stay prolific, yeah, so I already have it's just interesting. I have writing pockets that happen to me during the year, and when I'm in one of those pockets, I write, and I usually come up with 8 to 12 songs. I'm in one of them right now, so I this will be for the third proper solo album, which hopefully will come out early, 26 is what the plan would be at this point. I'll start recording probably in the spring. So yeah, for me, it's about getting to the recording process as soon as I can, after the writing process is happening and just kind of working that out. And I have a lot of flexibility, to
Hmm.
work now and to do those things. And I'm just stage of life I'm in and the kind of work I do. So I have a lot of flexibility. So it's really great. And I've always had a home studio, so I can kind of work when I need to work. And so yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for the second album. It's definitely different than the first solo album. And so yeah, excited about these new songs that are kind of popping out right now too for record number 3. And then yeah, we'll just see about I would love to do just a regular release and a Christmas release, simultaneous. That would be a great. I would love to do that every year if I could, if it flows. But that might be too much too. People get real sick of it pretty quickly.
I don't know about that. At least I won't.
Well, I
So,
appreciate it.
so have you got the studio back up and running post move now?
I don't. So I actually have a studio space that is there that's built. It's separate from my house. It's kind of so that's what I've had the last 15 years, just its own space that I
Hmm.
have. So this one is here. It's built. I just have to just get it all kind of set up, and I need a little bit of a break because just finished that Christmas
Yeah,
album.
yeah.
And then I just finished the finished make kind of approving the solo album, finished recording the Christmas album, which is being mixed right now.
Hmm.
So it would probably help me if I had a few months downtime and
That
refresh
makes sense.
kind of
I,
refresh the senses a little bit.
I do like that you write Christmas music in like the summertime and then like non-Christmas music you're in the midst of writing the third album now during the holiday season. I like it.
Yeah, it's really strange. You never know how it's all going to come, but I get into sort of a headspace with it, and it's more of like deciding what kind of songs are you looking to write, or maybe there's some bands that you're enjoying and they're influencing you, and it's like, all right, let's move in that direction a little bit. And yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to say after all these years. There's been so many songs, so many releases. I'm just happy that it still is exciting, and it always feels fresh to me. And it's one of the I, it's I'm grateful for it. Yeah. So.
Awesome. We told you I asked you for 20 minutes of your time, so I've got one more for you, and then we'll
Yeah.
we'll cut you loose. You've got a lot going on as we talked about. You're a very busy person. Are there any other endeavors that you want to take a minute to highlight, in addition to On Christmas Morning, which of course people can stream all over and buy physical copies on through Velvet Blue Music's website?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a book project I'm going to be finishing up in January that I've been working on for close to 3 years. It's coming out next, so I'm gonna have a lot out next year.
Yeah, sounds like it.
It's coming out next December. It's a book on poetic and sort of reflective contemplative prayers. So it'll be one a day. It'll be 365 of these prayers that'll kind of go through the seasons. And so yeah, it's been a labor of love. It's taken me a long time, because again, these are prayers that are a little more, you have to really think. They're a little more poetic in nature, And so I'm really looking forward to that coming out next December. Yeah. So
Awesome. Um, really excited for all the things you've got coming up. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to hop on with us. Really means a lot to us.
anytime. Yeah. Thank you guys.
On Christmas morning, single, and what other formats is that on? CD, digital? Is
Digital
that
on
it?
November 15th. It'll come out
Okay.
all digital platforms November 15th. Yep.
All right. Awesome. So everybody check that out. Thanks again, Ronnie. We'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thanks,
Thanks,
fellas.
Ronnie.
Appreciate it so
Have a good
much.
one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah, that was awesome to have him on.
Very, very cool. So now me and AJ are going to talk about the On Christmas Morning single, which has Silvery Tree is the B-side on that. And then after that, we'll get to the Neon Horse EP. So, AJ, I don't know how Kylan does the little thing where he plays the music for us. So we'll just go with what notes we
Yeah,
have.
go stream because this is dropping on 11/15. So the single's out now. Go stream it, go
Yeah.
buy it. But yeah, we can talk a little bit
All
about
right.
both those songs. Do you want to start? You want me to start?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So on Christmas morning, a lot of cool stuff, synth stuff going on, as with everything Ronnie does. Good melody, just something about the chord progression and whatever things he's using to make it sound. It does it. Even if it was just an instrumental, it would feel like Christmas spirity to me. Does that make sense?
There's actually an instrumental on the single. They
Oh,
have the
okay.
instrumental version of both On Christmas Morning and Silvery Trees
Interesting.
on the single too.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So yeah, that was kind of all I had about that. It did very well what I think it was intending to do.
Yeah, no, I dig it, right? It's like this very like 80s new wave like British pop vibe, right? Like Pet Shop Boys Christmas song, which is an interesting idea. I like little like ahas that are in there. Again, folks watching this, go listen to it so you know what we're talking about. It's very festive. It's got this beautiful message about like the excitement and hope that comes from Christmas morning. And I will say this in my household. I like it, kids like it, and the wife likes it. That the overlap of those three is pretty narrow, like pretty. So the fact that the three groups in the household all like On Christmas Morning, I think is a pretty good sign that it's a solid track.
Yeah.
It's a nice, fun little dancey, easy to sing along pop song, right?
Mhm.
So it's super great. What do you think about Silvery Trees?
I might like it more than on Christmas morning, and
It's good, right? Like both are
yeah,
great. Like Ronnie could have released them both of his singles on their
for
own.
sure. That was kind of another question that I would have had I known there would have been enough time. Is how did you decide which one was the A side and which one was the
Which
B
was the B
side?
side, right?
Because they're both really high quality A side stuff. If you ask me. Again, just a lot of cool synth and pretty memorable melody. I think was humming it along for a little while after I quit listening to it this afternoon. I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
just a really
catchy,
really good
right?
song.
Like both
Yeah.
of them are catchy. You can sing along, you kind of bop along to them. Again, it's got this great message about like the beauty of Christmas and the hope it brings. Like, I mean, for me, all of like Ronnie's music is like a real like bright spot that's very sincere and heartfelt. And even when he's getting like a little bit darker at times and enjoy electric and stuff like that,
Hmm.
like it just feels real and really authentic. I describe him sometimes as like delightfully unhinged because like it just feels like the blood's on the page, the emotions are really there. And so
Hmm.
seeing it in Christmas form is really cool. Like on these songs. Like he does it on all of this stuff, but like these kind of poppier versions of it. Plus, as like with Silvery Trees, as someone that sets up a silver tree on top of a regular traditional green Christmas tree, feels seen and represented by the song. So
Yeah.
like it's another good one. It's another fun, just pop tune that and it's something different, right? Like I love the
Yeah.
classics. I love hearing all of them. There's, even originals that are more recent that I like, but like it's fun to be able to add new tunes to the mix
Hmm.
and that they're easy for folks to sing along to and have fun with.
Yeah. So definitely makes me excited for more. So I'm glad to hear that there's
There's more coming. Yeah.
there's more coming. I loved
I
his.
knew the Christmas album was coming next year. I didn't know he was dropping another album in the
I know
spring on top of a
that
book. Man.
his previous one was in my top, I think five for the year. It's
Hmm.
2022, right? Is that what
Yeah,
you said?
2022. Yeah, I think he released like January of
Yeah,
2022.
I think it was in my top five for the year. Cool. So I guess we'll move on now and talk about some Neon Horse.
Yeah, do you want to explain context? Like we know who Neon Horse is. Maybe some folks don't. Like we've obviously
Yeah.
hinted that Jason Martin, Ronnie's brother, is a part of it, but like explain Norman and
Um,
explain Neon Horse.
well, I guess from what I recall, they were at first keeping it a secret who was involved, and everybody started, guessing. And then I think they eventually played a live show, and of course the big, Jason Martin fans knew that was his guitar style, and I think a lot of Stavesacre fans could tell that that was Mark Solomon, and then Stephen Dale on bass. I think at the time Alex Albert of Project A6 was playing drums, but I wonder if it's Jason's son since he's been playing all the Starfire stuff.
That's what our good buddy over at on Church Jams Now, Josh Olson, said is he thought it
Okay.
was Jason's son on drums because I guess Charlie played drums on the
Yeah.
latest Starflyer release.
Yeah. I think he's has he played on I think he's played on the last two. But yeah,
That's two. There you go.
definitely the most recent one. So yeah, kind of super group, mysterious,
Like
uh
comedy horror a little bit. Like
very unique.
yeah, like it's really good for like the spooky season time. So I like that they dropped their EP on Halloween to
Yeah,
say
perfect.
like to lean into that a little bit. But yeah, it's again unhinged in a really fun way. Like it's in a different way than like Ronnie's stuff in Joy Electric, but it's again just good. It's fun. It's funny.
Yeah. It it makes me long for the glory days of the scene, when there was
Hmm.
just so much good creative stuff coming out.
Hmm.
But I'm glad it still is, even if in smaller doses now. There's still a lot of that unique stuff coming from the scene.
Hmm.
So track one, Haskell Moon. I love how the verses are like a pure hardcore vibe.
Yeah, this is absolutely a punk song. Like this is
Yeah,
great.
yeah, it reminds me of Mark's Crucified days. That was a big surprise as somebody who's listened to their other albums for over a decade, off and on now. I think that's the first time they've really incorporated that element to that degree.
No,
So
I
that
agree.
was, yeah,
It surprised me. Like
yeah,
they kind of have this like classic rock or almost like Queens of the Stone Age, Dandy Warhols vibe on a lot of
mm,
their stuff. For them to open up with a solid like punk song was a
yeah,
pleasant surprise. I dug
yeah,
it.
yeah, same
A lot of fun. I can't really make out a lot of the lyrics, but I dig the vibe
for
at
sure.
least.
Yeah, probably my favorite on the EP.
I agree.
The
Yeah, this is a 3 out of 3 on my 0 to 3
Yeah,
scale.
I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
There you go.
Yeah. Track two, nothing there. Straight up rock and roll.
That's what I have. I have solid rock and roll as my first sentence.
Yeah. From great musicians and vocalists. And I think that's the only way that I think like that pure rock and roll vibe is interesting to me now, is if I can pick apart the instruments and they're doing cool things, because the genre can be like, it can be maybe like too simple for me, maybe for if it's like ACDC or something, But I think these guys, the musicianship is so like, you know, next level that there's a lot going on, even though it sounds like that just pure, more simple rock and roll sound. There's a lot to pick apart.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
solid track. I
yeah,
enjoyed it.
4 stars for me.
Yeah, I got 2.5 out of 3 for me.
Nice. Did you have any other just comments on that one?
Yeah, very like Dandy Warhols
Yeah.
vibe for me. And I was trying to figure out if that was Jason that started like sing talking at like the 2:30 mark, where like
Mm,
another voice comes in and kind of sounds like ominous or spooky, kind of like they're
yeah.
like old school like horror movie kind of. So I wondered about that, but no, it's a good solid track too.
Nice. Track three. is that supposed to be Mona Lisa, or is it supposed to be like Moana Lisa?
So because my kids love Moana, I originally read it as
Right.
that. But again, Josh Olson over at the Wonderful Church Jams now said Mona Lisa. So
Okay, I haven't listened to that episode
I
yet.
think I'm gonna lean into it being Mona Lisa. If we're wrong, I don't know. Neon Horse, Velvet Blue, whoever's listening, go blame the Church Jams now, guys.
It's a little bit sludgy, which
Yeah,
is another kind of interesting twist to the sound.
it's like Motorhead. That's what I
Yeah,
have on here.
yeah, yeah. It's so cool to me how Mark makes his voices sound like he's got so many different voices that he can do.
That's why I wasn't
Uh,
sure on the last one. I was like, is that Jason or is that the like who is that? I don't
yeah,
know. I couldn't tell.
I'm not sure
Okay.
who that was.
Yeah.
But I love the lyric in this one. Would it kill you to die to yourself a little? Or is it, yeah, would it die? Would it kill you to die a little to yourself? I thought that was a pretty great lyric.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another 4-star song for me.
Yeah. 2.5 out of 3 for me.
Cool. Um, Track 4, I know that it can be confusing when it's all your fault. The spoken word in this one, I'm positive is Mark.
Okay.
Um, very, very cool. Good riff and bass line, all the things that the
Yeah, that
band do
bass line
well, they're
is like
doing
really
here. Yeah,
noticeable when it comes in. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, another 4-star
Yeah, this
solid
is
track.
solid classic rock and roll, right? The guitar riff is great. Then when those drums come in about 20 seconds in and that bass line starts. And then there's a saxophone, I think, right? Like that is it's different for them, right? Like I don't
Right,
know.
yeah.
I honestly I don't know them perhaps as well as you and others do, but I don't know if I've heard a saxophone on their tunes before.
I don't recall one.
So, but yeah, there's another 2.5 out of 3 for me. This you could tell the guys were having a lot of fun, right? Like
Yeah.
it's enjoyable tunes with high energy. Probably trying to just like goof off in the studio and have a good time, make some tunes with their friends. Like it's kind of the
Yeah.
dream, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's kind of the vibe you get listening to it. Like they didn't take themselves too seriously.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Overall, 4-star release for me. Uh, solid album as everything they've done. Glad to have it in my
Yeah.
collection. Glad to have new music from them.
Yeah, because it's been over a decade.
I think
Is that
it
the
was
correct words?
was it 20? I feel like it was like 2010
Okay.
when
So
their
it's been a
previous one came
while.
out. Yeah, it's been a good while. Um, so yeah, got anything else?
Well, this is coming out on the day that, on Christmas morning drops. So November 15th, go listen to that now. And on Tuesday, I've got short stories for people with short attention spans coming out on 11/19. And in fact, I almost mentioned this earlier, but I don't know how weird it would be then. There's like 3 Ronnie Martin references in that book, like one Joy Electric, one Ronnie Martin solo, and one actually, I guess technically him and Jason, the brothers Martin. One of the stories is called The Missionary, so which is one of the brothers Martin songs. There's All Christmas Time Sings is one of the books, and then there's a reference to a Joy Electric song in one of the short stories that's in there.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And Habit of Creature by Neon Horse is out already. It's not on Spotify, but I know you can get it on Velvet Blues website. And so yeah, a lot of good
It's streaming
stuff.
on Apple, if I remember right, like
Is it
Apple
really?
Music. Yeah,
Maybe maybe
I think
it's
so.
not with their other stuff on
It's
Spotify
not.
then.
That's true. It is.
Oh,
It
okay.
is weirdly separate. I don't know if.
I guess it must have been a record label thing or
Yeah, because I did catch that. That it is separate from the other 2 albums
okay.
on Apple Music.
So I take that back then. It probably is streaming on Spotify.
There we
Um
go. So that
uh
concludes our, Mama Martin Baby's Boys new music special mini episode.
Yeah. Shout out to all the supporters on Patreon. Shout out to WoW Tier patron Tim Rogers. We got a lot of stuff already recorded coming soon. Be on the lookout for that. And thanks to everybody who supports us in any way. All right. Amy Grant.